So I believe that by 2035, which is 10 years before 2047, 100 years, not only we would have come out with newer as a country, but we become the center of knowledge for Africa, Indonesia, Latin America. Let China be whatever the manufacturer of the world. We become the knowledge of the world in terms of sustainability. What you do in Manipur is good for Tanzania. What you do in Meghalaya is good for Sierra Leone. And that's what I think India is in that position. And that's why the youngsters, boss, where are you looking at Europe and US? It's a beautiful chance for you to be that future. Yeah.
Welcome to the Luminary Lounge, Insights from Lives Well Lived. And I'm your host, Dr. Aruna Muralidhar. And this is a podcast where we sit down with extraordinary change makers, dreamers, and doers whose lives illuminate the path for others. If you have ever wondered what it looks like when empathy meets engineering and changes millions of lives, meet Dr. Harish Hande, an IIT Kharagpur graduate with a PhD from the University of Massachusetts. He returned to India not to these titles or chase titles, but to chase light, literally, into the hardest to reach homes, clinics, and classrooms, into labor wards in the Northeast. As a co-founder of Celco, he pioneered a simple but radical idea: design energy around people's lives, finance it at their doorsteps, and stand by them with service so the poorest aren't just consumers, but become asset creators. From personally installing the first 1,000 solar systems to building an ecosystem that powers livelihoods for tailors, midwives, farmers, and micro-entrepreneurs, his work has helped millions move from energy poverty to possibility. For this, he received the Asia's highest honor, the Raman Magsaysay Award, yet he remains a practitioner at heart, humble, hands-on, and relentlessly focused on dignity through design. Today in the Luminary Lounge, we sit down with this man who proves that decentralized energy can decentralize opportunity, visionary, builder, and eternal student of the last mile. Please welcome Dr. Harish Hande.
Thank you, ma'am, for inviting me.
Sir, it's indeed a pleasure having you on Luminary Lounge, our podcast. And thanks so much for your time.
No, thank you for inviting me to this.
Pleasure, sir. So let's step into Luminary Lounge and hear from Dr. Hande himself. I just wondered, if you could just take us back to your childhood days. I believe that you were born in Karnataka in Udupi district and then moved to Rourkela. So what were your childhood experiences like? How were things for you when you were growing up?
No, I was technically only born in Karnataka, but because my mother had to come for delivery, but because my parents were in Rourkela in Odisha.
I see.
So all my life has been in Odisha from day one. And Rourkela being a township of what you call it as steel township, where everybody worked in the same plant and everybody went to the same school. So I guess growing up was interesting. You stayed in Odisha, one of the poorest states of the country at that point of time, and even still today. But also it was a cosmopolitan in many ways because you had people from across the country who were there.
Working there, yeah.
So I think the diversity was there for us. I mean, you took it for granted because, if you go to Odisha, a lot of people don't consider Rourkela as part of Odisha. Because they think it's a different town. It has its own
culture,
bubble, as we say.
And your parents, your father was working in the plant?
Was working in the steel authority. He left Karnataka in 1959.
I see.
And then he was there till 1991. So even for my mother, it's been 80% of her life has been Odisha.
Okay. Yeah. I see.
Yeah. So I can't read I'm a Kannadiga, I can't read and write Kannada, but I can read and write Oriya.
I see. Okay. Yeah. And how was growing up there? What was schooling like?
Everybody went to the same school or two schools. And the toughest part was, unfortunately, was that your mother would know your report card before you came to the house. because some other parent or the teacher would have called up, right? So and I think the competitive spirit was unfortunately too high. Everybody knew everybody's marks, and the worst part during our generation was that if you didn't go into IIT, you were not a good student.
Okay, right. That was a
That was, I mean, the immense. Had I been in any other city, I wouldn't have gone in, because 80% of the people who write go into it. So it is the pressure of the colony life was great, but educational pressure was just
Tremendous.
unimaginable. Yeah.
And you would start to prepare for IIT from your high school,
From eighth.
from
yeah,
eighth standard.
Yeah, eighth or ninth. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's how you went to IIT.
I know.
Kharagpur.
Had it not been my friends in Rourkela, I don't think so I would have got through.
Right.
No, no.
So thanks to your friends and the
I would
peers.
have.
Interesting. But when did the actual seed of, let's say, solar energy for the underserved first plant itself in your mind? Was it through your IIT days? What was IIT like? Were there any innovations or
I think
any projects in your mind?
the last thing that I did in IIT was study. So study was not a part of my curriculum at all, and so I was telling our colleagues the only way that I could study was that I went to classes regularly. So I had 100% attendance. Otherwise, it was most of the administrative activities, etc. But in my third year, I got interested in solar, and you're talking about 1988. Solar was more on the hot water side, not on the photovoltaics. Way back in 89, you started looking at, and then the whole picture at that point of time was how do we use solar for a large masses? So I was looking at large solar, and then you looked at US universities for studying solar, and there were only two universities that was offering solar at that point of time, UMass as well as Michigan. So joined UMass, but the thought process of looking at large solar was very much so, that's the only way to look at large population. And do we compare it to oil? Do I compare it to, because that time it was not about climate change. But in 91, I had a chance to go to Dominican Republic.
Why Dominican Republic though?
There was a person in Dominican Republic, Richard Hansen, who had started to look at solar for applications way back in 1984.
Oh, okay.
And so to give you a perspective, in 91, when I went to Dominican Republic, the total amount of solar that was there in the world is equivalent to what today the world does in half an hour. So to put in perspective what was there at that point of time, right? And DR, when I went to DR, there were 10 houses that were using individual solar.
Oh.
And particularly one farmer, Martinez, who basically took me inside his house and switched on the light 3 or 4 times and switched it off and said, do you know how it runs? It's so solar. And do you know nobody can control it? I have light when I need it. See, what he basically meant was democratization.
Absolutely.
And that is when I came back to US and told my professor that I don't want to do the thesis I'm doing. And I don't want to write about something that nobody's going to read anyways. So the question for me was, and then I left the US and said, I really want to look at what solar means, not large solar. And what I said, so I stayed 2 years without electricity. I came to Sri Lanka and India in 93 beginning to 90. So what it means to be without, see, the question is when you're talking of solar and electricity, if you don't have the feeling at what it actually means to live without electricity, how are you able to understand people's issue at all? I mean, it's no immersion. And
you lived in a house where there was absolutely no electricity.
Sri Lanka in Anuradhapura, I don't know if you look at the 1993 where it was just the bordering the LTT areas, the bordering the LTT, and there absolutely the best place to see the skylight because there was no interference of any light, right? And then back in India for a year and a half. So totally 2 years, I would say, without.
So about 93 to 95, you did that to experience what darkness means.
One is, what does efficiency mean in terms of working when the sun goes down? Secondly is, how do you redefine resources. So where does a person go for his cousin's wedding? And where does the money come for the bus?
Mm.
When you're poor, you say, I have no money, but suddenly to go to a wedding, where does the money come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of willingness to spend, willingness to pay, willingness to experience
Mm-hmm.
come from which actually pushes your thinking process of how are you able to map the needs and wants of people, and why do people gather in the either a Buddhist temple in Sri Lanka or a temple here or a mosque in the evenings? Why is that? Why is that you start trying to become more efficient because sun is going to go down at 6
Right.
o'clock?
Right.
And so do people need electricity at all, or are you pushing stuff into it? And what does development mean? Is
Yeah.
road a development or an anti-development in many ways, right? So that's where you see, and suddenly you realize that your education is useless.
what a like eye-opening experience that would have been, really, wasn't it? But did you actually see it as a need? What was your experience there at the end of those 2 years?
It was, I would say, very much you question your education big time, right? Big time, because then you say the whole concept. I mean, a whole concept of education gets trivialized in many ways, right? Because then you see that even the PhD has no meaning, because if you and me did a PhD on say camera or a rice, we're called experts of rice. But a farmer doing 40 years of rice will have no expertise because he or she does not have a PhD, right? Tell me at an age between say 21 and 26, people who do PhDs, how many people can afford to spend 5 years of their valuable time? And then isn't it racism or educational racism, right?
Yeah.
You are
In a
called an
way.
expert, you are sitting on a dais,
Yeah.
and then the others who are
Who
much
actually
more
on the ground.
are sitting on the ground, literally.
Yeah.
So that
So
is what,
ironical.
yeah, that pushes you to rethink expertise, literacy, because the same thing you say, no, the people who invented the wheel, according to our definition, is illiterate. So what does illiteracy mean per se? So I think those things were for us. I mean, I would never.
I think I see that you kind of are getting into the realm of skill-based training versus theoretical sort of knowledge, and
Yeah, and also also how you're perceived as a person.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
right.
A lot of bias.
Why? I mean, so one of the exhibitions which was eye-opening in a many different manner was I had an exhibit. I used to do solar exhibitions in rural areas because it was something new. How can a plate generate electricity?
Right. Yeah.
So it was like 200 or 300 stalls were there because I had no money. So others would actually keep the laborers there, and I would sleep in my own tent, right? Whatever tent. And then it would be showcasing a solar powered TV. So 15, 20 laborers would come and see every day. So we became very good friends. In the last day, 2 of my friends from US came down to see me. They were traveling.
Right.
And these 17 people saw me. Okay. Then they came in the evening and asked me, how do you know them? I said, no, sir. Suddenly they said, so you're educated. And in 5 seconds, I lost 17 friends.
God.
Right. Saying that, oh, sorry, sir, apologies. My question is, that's where it hits you. Yeah. What education is. So what we did was I took my master's, bachelor's and PhD certificate and burned it. I don't have it. No.
You did do that?
Yeah, I did it. But what's the use? I did burn it. Now, yeah, what's it? I gave up these degrees in 94. It's of no point, right? What do you?
My God.
It's no point.
That's a drastic decision.
Yeah, so it relieves you in many sense.
Okay, did you get those friends back though?
I didn't. Some of them came back, but over the years, yes. But unless you prove to them that it is.
But when back in 1995, when you founded Celco, I mean, it must have looked like the most improbable leap for you. But having said this background, it was probably the most destined leap for you. Right. And what gave you the conviction to take that risk? And how did people help you take that leap, let's say? Because you must have come back and then started to figure out your life. And how did that turn out?
See, the question, unfortunately, I actually didn't think much
Uh-huh.
because every day was new. Every day was and similarly, the 2 years actually helped you rethink what it is, right? In terms of and so it's in many ways it becomes an addiction because many of the problem statement that comes onto your table, how do I solve it? Like just like preparing for IIT, you wake up at 3 o'clock because a problem was not solved. Same thing. This became an addiction of yes, the water does not work, or electricity. What do you do with electricity? Where the livelihoods are not there, or the stalls have to, would they increase their income if they had 4 hours of extra lighting, or if energy wasn't utilized? So all this started, and when you start interacting with different segments on a daily basis, it becomes an addiction because the learning process, what you do, a rack picker versus a street vendor versus an orphan versus an old age home versus a church versus a temple versus a mosque versus it's a broad band, was rice farmer versus a peanut farmer versus a tomato farmer, right? So that's slowly you start getting into that and saying that, okay, how do you create a process of intervention?
So you had the problem statements and you just had to put in a lot of deep thought into it. But then in India, did you choose Northeast for a reason?
No, Northeast was much later.
Much later. So
Karnataka was the first one. Northeast came 5 years ago. No, but it was a social enterprise which we started and in 95, which is Celco. And basically some of my first colleagues were all people who had left, for example, TV repair. That time it's a TV repair, tape recorder repair, right? Those were. So the question for me was, when we were working with them and starting to put solar in certain houses, we had no money. So 3 of us would go and install the system. The issue when people say that did you sacrifice and come back, right? I didn't sacrifice. I had a choice, right? These guys sacrificed because they couldn't go back to TV job because somebody else would have taken it. People don't realize that who sacrifices, right? People who have choice don't sacrifice. And many of these guys actually, the people who they're like, I don't know, 10th grade, 8th grade, I have no idea of their qualification, but they are the people who made Celco what it is today. And frankly speaking, you talk about the awards. I got awards because I speak English. Pure and simple, non-English speaker. So we built, how do we create an organization where vernacular speakers could be the backbone of the organization? And that's philosophy of Celco. Unfortunately, it's known for solar. But for us, sustainability was, how do you look at true sustainability from a societal perspective? So the initial people who joined this movement in many ways were the people who are responsible for where we are today.
Okay, right. Amazing, right. So, but the conviction was always there and you had the people now. Then what was your next step? I mean, what were the challenges that you faced? What were the doubts that you came across? Failures along the way? I mean, where did you start? What was the process like?
So the process was, see, the 2 years actually helped, and later on, even the question of failure, and I said, I had enough of safety nets. And what I mean by safety nets, I had an education. Something failed, I could go back, right? My question is, what do the safety nets to street vendors have? Right? What is the safety net a rack picker has? A safety net a farmer in rural area has if the monsoons don't come in, right? Absolutely. I was nothing compared to that, right? Then start looking at, am I able to contribute as a partner? Not looking at the poor as beneficiaries, but poor as partners. Is there a way I could contribute it? And the biggest challenge initially was convincing that something like this solar works. You're looking at like, what do you mean a plate will generate electricity?
To give them a lot of demonstrations.
Yes, exactly. It's like everybody today knows what solar is, right? That time, how does a plate, and especially in the rural areas, because they were also exploited in many ways, right? People will come from the urban area, sell and something, right? I might come from somewhere else, right? Even my colleagues, right? Their mothers would scold them. This guy has come from America, he'll run away. What are you guys going to do out of? Because I tell you, at one point of time, for the first 3 years, we had 1,000 rupees.
Okay.
Every month because of a existing scholarship money that I had. And so 3 of us would share 300 rupees. And that was our 3-year journey, right? So, and one particular, and when people say, no, what we used to take is we would buy one system from Tata Solar, in Bangalore, which was in Electronic City.
Oh,
That time used to have one road, single road that was to go to Electronic
yes.
City. We would buy the system and beg them that give me 1 week's time to pay you back.
Mm.
We would initially go to a rich farmer, showcase it, take money, pay back.
The photoelectric, I mean, the
Solar cells, yeah, they install the house and light, and so others can see. So we needed cash. So can we piggyback on rich people? So in one of the installations, the second one, where it was a ginger farmer who basically after 4 o'clock in the evening, when we completed the installation, he said, "I'm so sorry, I don't have ginger, I can't pay you." Which was a shock to us. So 3 of us went to the bus stand, and I had 20 rupees in my pocket, and we were frustrated, we ate. And then we realized we had no money to go back to Bangalore. Okay. Then 2 of my colleagues who are not said, "Boss, you sit down. Basically, I'm the most useless character, right?" They worked as coolies. They worked as coolies for 2 hours. Mere money, and in the bus, they're telling me how Celco will survive.
God.
My question is, who has sacrificed? Yeah. So, then you realize it's much more than that. How do you create? So, most of them are still with me. So, working in Celco. So those are nuances that which pushes you to think about how do you create an organization.
It's difficult to find the same kind of passion and motivation amongst people you partner with, isn't it? And I think you're fortunate in finding those.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, having the same sort of passion. Amazing. I think, from what I gather, Celco challenged 3 myths: that the poor cannot afford sustainable technology, cannot maintain it, and that social ventures can't be commercial.
Right.
Right? But how did you discover this alternate way of thinking? These are all myths to be busted. They are sort of sustainable, they can be maintained, and that, the social ventures need not be commercial.
My question is why, so when people talk about sustainability, right? So everybody talks of sustainability from either from a finance perspective or from an environmental perspective.
Yes.
Not from a societal perspective, right? Society has to be sustained. And if you talk about sustainability of society, automatically environmental and financial sustainability comes in play. Otherwise, you are going to have, that's why sometimes a lot of the society breaks up, because it's either it's a financial issue or an environmental issue or a combination of them. And more so you see from a climate resilience perspective.
So you're talking about social sustainability in terms of their mindset.
Life,
to
the security.
Go on with it.
Yes, yeah. Security of family relationships, plus everything else, right? And that's where we're saying that how does decentralized energy basically tie everything in? We believe that it was the, how do you say it? It was the oxygen. For us, decentralized energy is an oxygen that keeps this society alive in many ways. So that's how do you weave in that process?
Okay. So you started with rich farmers. They sort of
because they had to look at the cash flow. Yes.
Yes. And then the news spread and the, sort of people took on to it. That sort of thing?
No, first I wanted to convince the banks. That this is a viable thing that people will pay. Because once I could crack the bank.
Yes.
And if you look at Indian banking system.
The local cooperative banks.
The RRBs, the regional rural banks. They have a mandate to look at the poor.
Right. Yeah.
But they had to be convinced that this technology works. Somebody is going to maintain it. If it doesn't, their payments don't happen. So for us, what we said that we will create the after sales service. We are going to create the appropriate systems that people want. Are you willing to give them the loan? So we wanted to come lower into the financial strata of the society. And banks were very critical for us to go down the deeper of the society.
Yeah. And how did you manage to convince them?
See, there were a couple of things. There's a champion banker, Mr. Udupa, who was the chairman of the bank. And secondly, in one of the banks, what I also did was I took my sleeping bag and slept in front of the bank, saying that until you don't give the loan, I'll not. And I had nothing to show, I had nothing to guarantee. Boss, it will happen. I'm there. I'm like, you might run away. But question is, so the guy got frustrated and said, I'm going to give you a loan. I said, no, give me in writing. Okay. Then I went to the other banks and said, see, they are doing it. How come you're not doing it? Right. And that's how the movement of banking started.
And they had a mandate as well. So that helped.
Of course, not for solar.
Not for solar. but generally for the community
Yes,
upliftment
yes,
and
yes.
stuff
They
like
had,
that,
yes,
right?
for
So that,
priority sector lending, yes.
right, okay. You once said that affordable doesn't mean low cost, but appropriate financing. So that is what is the mental model
See,
that we're
mental
working
model is,
on.
say, for example, what happens is people confuse between affordability and low cost. A 10,000 rupee swing machine
Hmm.
versus a 20,000 rupee swing machine. A 20,000 rupee swing machine actually gives you 8 designs, 9 designs. It's able to pay back the loan faster.
Hmm.
While a 10,000 rupee will not pay back the loan faster because your incomes are not high. So 20,000 is more affordable than a 10,000.
Okay.
Right? How do you look at affordability
Ah,
in a manner, right? The
right.
value that 20,000 is giving much more. So, people, oh, is it cheaper? Is it affordable? And so the best financial lesson I have learned is from a street vendor in Bangalore who said 300 rupees a month is expensive, but 10 rupees a day is fine. Right?
Uh-huh.
But our cash flow is on a daily basis.
Right, yes, yes. So he can still keep aside 10 rupees,
10 rupees
from
a
his
day
daily wages
and give it to
rather
you
than
300 rupees.
Yeah. Very interesting, very interesting. And of course, you said that solar for the poor, the banks didn't see it as a viable option, and you managed to get champions,
Sure.
bankers, and then trust building and getting the trust of the locals, rich farmers, and then on to the other people. And in today's sort of the age of hype of sustainability and solar energy and all that, what would you caution entrepreneurs about balancing impact versus scale versus hype? I mean, how would you sort of, let's say somebody wants to start something in sustainable
See,
development?
if anybody has to start, the first thing I do tell people is that, boss, hit that. Are you able to put yourself in the other person's shoes? If you're not able to put yourself into the rack, because street vendors, farmers, it's very difficult you to feel the way they feel, and you're able to create a product as well. See, sustainability is able to imbibe that. Can you switch sides with the farmer? I ask simple question to the young guys, right?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Right? Can you switch sides where, and the to youngsters in the office, I say, right? The day the auto rickshaw driver stops calling you sir or madam, then you have reached that. How many, I ask some of these, how many non-English speaking friends you have who will call you at 1 o'clock in the night? If no, then you're not part of the 80% of this country, right?
Yeah.
How can you make sure you come to that level, right? Their level of thinking. Because the poor are brilliant systems thinkers.
I see.
Right? Because they have to actually survive. Like they have plan A, plan B, plan C, right? We don't have plan B, plan C, right? So that's where, how do we learn from the poor? How do you reach to that level of thinking? How do you make sure they think that you're one of them? Right? And that's when you succeed. And that's why young entrepreneurs, if you don't do village tourism on a weekend.
When it's at the peak of its work,
it's exactly,
right? Okay. And when you amalgamated solar energy with appliances,
for
like
livelihoods,
sewing machine for livelihood, so it was an electric machine, right?
Yes,
I mean, electric machine, I mean, obviously solar lights, and so when motor powered sewing machines.
So over the years, when we actually graduated from, if you look at the mid 90s, lighting was very critical for people, right? For education, for increased income during the night time. So as society became more advanced, and then you started looking at, and solar became cheaper, then livelihood appliances like solar powered sugarcane juice, solar powered roti rolling machines, solar powered sewing machines, solar powered silk weaving machines, right? So there are multiple things that people look at solar for. One is, simple example, rice mill, which is powered by diesel. And if a woman entrepreneur wants to run a rice mill, she also needs a man, because when you want to start a diesel engine, you not only need a man, you need a strong man to start the diesel engine, right? So you cut the options for women to actually take another livelihoods. How many women blacksmithy you actually find out?
Yeah.
Solar powered rice mill completely opens up. Solar powered hammer mills brings in gender play. Women become blacksmithies. Solar powered pottery, women. So how do you reduce drudgery? How do you increase the options for the women? How do you relook at a roti rolling machine for people with paralysis below, right? You can design it.
Okay.
So you can see the beauty of looking at appliances, innovations in appliances for gender, for disabilities, for marginalized, and using decentralized energy. And now in the future AI, you're democratizing livelihoods for the poor of whatever nature.
And how does AI come in such a situation?
See,
Right now?
AI, for example, what happens is, if I look at a lot of the problem statements that we do in Karnataka, and these are, think of every problem statement as 10 Lego pieces, right? Now, if I do a case study and I send it to Meghalaya, people just see the case study. People don't see Lego pieces, right? The financial model in Karnataka might be valid for Meghalaya, but not the technical model,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Like you're building a railway line from here to
Because
Delhi.
their Lego pieces are completely different.
Different, exactly. Which Lego piece to take from Karnataka, which Lego piece to take from Meghalaya, which take it to Manipur and do it. And same thing, can I have another Lego piece from Ethiopia, for example, right? AI actually will push you to think and actually do, okay, these are already there for such conditions, right? Suppose I have a bullet train that goes from Bangalore to Delhi. Between Meerut and Delhi, my soil conditions are different. I need a different type of railway line, right? That doesn't get captured. No, a railway line got built between Bangalore and Delhi. Wait, that is different, right? And that is where we need in development sector that what I learned from like simple thing like jackfruit. People have been Meghalaya throwing jackfruit, right? Then people said the chief minister asked the Chakandat said, Harish, can you look at jackfruit? Yeah, this is can you do? And people are telling Karnataka men they do chips, etc., etc. Got in these farmers from there, and but I took farmers from here there. Within half an hour, they said that jackfruit is not good for chips. So they've been debating for 3 years. It is good for vegetable, right? Now they could have moved forward a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. What do I do with? It's development sector is fragmented.
Yes.
Right?
And AI is doing the stitching together.
AI in this sector will increase jobs.
That's a beautiful, positive statement.
Absolutely. And it is going to reduce the transaction cost. I'll tell you from medical perspective itself, right? If I look at Sargur in rural Mysore, okay, and a tribal person has to go to a hospital or whatever for whatever reason, not only they have to go bus charge 3 days, that means 3 days out of 30 days, 10% of income is dead, right? For basic services, and the doctor says, no, come down, blah, etc. So we created a teleservices center where it's an ATM where you have access to 5 doctors. A doctor appears, they do the blood test, blood pressure. Now with every gadget you can actually do. Next to that we have opened Sargur, right? With SVIM. That's okay. You don't need to come now. We have reduced the transaction. See, poor are poor because their incomes are low, but the transaction cost is high. Right? How do you lower the transaction cost, right? Now, now the latest stethoscope that has come in, for example, which now when doctors use stethoscope, which is like you have X number of experience to look at, okay, how the heartbeat is, right? Now, the latest one, which has AI, which has a whole database of millions of heartbeats, right? Can you imagine that we democratize those for the rural areas? Reduce the transaction cost, running on solar?
Be revolutionary.
Exactly. Why can't we democratize? I was saying that labor rooms. I mean, why can't I give a midwife a high quality foldable TV and a solar powered baby warmer? She opens up the TV in every woman's house. One of the biggest deaths, maternal deaths, is because people are not able to come to the hospital in time, or the terrains, etc., etc. In those cases, the midwife opens the high quality TV. I have 5 gynecologists ready in Bangalore or Washington, right? Or DC, right? And I have a baby warmer. I'm converting women's house into a maternal room as plan C.
The instructions are given online,
exactly,
and she has all the kit.
Exactly.
She has a kit and the baby warmer and
running on solar. How do we rethink? How do we use AI? How do you use the technology to? And that's the beauty of decentralized energy.
No, they're great examples from various fields, including medicine. I mean, it's very interesting. I think a very interesting time that we're living in.
Exactly.
Looking forward to many more innovations. How about the government? I mean, policy navigation and things like that. How did that? I mean, of course, it's decentralization, democratization, but you must have had some hurdles. I'm sure it's notoriously hard to get through bureaucrats. What principles or mental, let's say, shortcuts, mental models have you developed to engage with bureaucracy productively? Did that happen? I mean, along the way?
The question is, I mean, if you look at any hospital or if you look at any company per se, right? You always look at champions. And You don't paintbrush, this hospital is bad. Or we paintbrush, this hospital is bad, right? Or we paintbrush, this is bad. That particular doctor was bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Or I can have other doctors who could have given me
Stereotypes.
solutions, right? Same thing in bureaucracy, there are champions, right? Just like at your family or relatives, there are 4 relatives who will always say, don't do it, become an engineer, doctor. It's just like your family, the pushback comes from the family side, right?
Yeah.
So early on, we adopted who is a champion, right? Even in banker, there are one banker who will say 10 times no, I will wait for him to get transferred, right? Some other banker who's a champion, IAS officers.
Yeah.
There are champions. For example, when we started the ZP of Mangalore, where we started, brilliantly, she basically said, Harish, I don't know what you do. I trust you. Do this water pump.
In Mangalore.
In Mangalore, yeah. That's where I started, Puttur and Mangalore, right? And now she's the chief secretary, Shalini Goyal, right?
Ah. Okay.
Right. 30 years you follow. So same thing. Can you follow Athi? Can you follow, for example, Conrad Sangma, who is the chief minister of Meghalaya? 5:30 he will call, right? And say, what needs to be done, right? What needs to be done? How do you catch hold of those champions?
Yeah.
Right. Everywhere there's a champion. Exactly. And
it's trial and error or more of research?
No, but also how when you go for meetings and you realize that the person is good. Oh, am I able to go? It's all in a different part. So those are, and if like Shalini Goyal is there for 2 more years, she said, I'm there for 2 more years. What policy changes do you want, Harish?
Oh.
Right. So my question to all the youngsters is, start giving relationship with the DCs today. They are 30, 31. There are, out of the 25 DCs, 5 will be your side, and they will become secretaries in the future. Right? The commissioner of Raichur, young guy, 30. Boss, what do we do? Sir, kya karna hai? What do we do? Right? Every day. Catch hold of those guys. So what policy? So we work backward. You want this policy to be changed? Policy? Okay. If you were the person, what you would have done? And this is 2 years down the line. Who are the different people you want to catch?
Yeah, right. So you got to have so many skills. Systems,
How do you look at systems? That's all.
You need to be able to identify the right people, networking, collaboration, also a little bit of profiling.
But it's like a relay race, right? The question is, when you have the relay race, you know who the 4th runner is.
Yes, the final runner.
Right. So you got it. You look like a...
But decentralized solutions like Celco, for example, they don't really fit into any policy categories, right?
No, it does. It does, because for us, it is a salt, right? So solar is like a salt. End goal is what? Roti, paratha, idli, etc., right? What is our end goal? It's health, livelihoods, education. So we meet the Ministry of Rural Development, who are in charge of the livelihoods in the National Rural Livelihood, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, for example. So Ministry of Health, for example, Delhi. Now we have a relationship with 8 ministries of health.
Okay.
By March of 2026, 100% of the public health centers in the Northeast will be solar powered. Percent of the PHCs in the 8 states will be solar powered.
Oh, amazing.
Right? Till date, we have done 10,000 in the Northeast. Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram is 100%.
Right. And that powers the lights, the
suction
machines,
pumps,
the suction pumps,
the baby warmers. Part of it is autoclaves, for example, vaccine refrigerators, the most critical. And because we started to focus on maternal labor rooms, and now we are also, how do we work on design of the maternal tables? That they're not designed for people with paralysis. You have to pick up in the, right?
Yeah.
How do you redesign autoclaves? Because they are the most guzzlers, right?
Yeah.
How do you redesign suction pumps that can be foldable for the rural areas, right? How do you look at better baby warmers, for example?
Just from my understanding, are they individual appliance cells, or they are sort of a generic solar?
The solar panels are
generic.
The last. That's the last thing we concentrate on.
But the machine, how effectively is it going to use that?
Yes, how effectively is it inefficient or efficient? Right. For example, we were, as a country, buying baby warmers which were consuming 800 watts.
Mhm.
and GE was producing 300 watts.
Hmm.
So I was designing double the solar. Okay. Now, if in the rural areas, if I am looking at 300 watts, I can use solar. And in Meghalaya, what we have done is they had some money to build 300 maternal labor rooms. We basically brought in our architectural team.
Uh-huh.
See, because in many areas, maternal labor rooms are like execution
Yeah.
chambers.
Unfortunately.
We made it light friendly.
Hmm.
We made it wind. Like you, how do you keep
Ventilated.
29 degrees centigrade? Otherwise, the heat stress on women. So now you require less lighting during daytime. That means less solar needed. Right?
Yeah.
How do you look at efficiency of buildings? How do you look at the aesthetics of the buildings? How do you look at efficiency of appliances? Then look at solar.
Okay, so that will be the final thing.
Yes.
So the architects are sort of skilled. I mean, essentially, they know what to do in a northeast city or
Yeah,
town or
right.
village in that climatic condition, because I think it must be cloudy most of the time and raining.
Some are
and all
cloudy,
that.
some are rainy,
So,
some are
but-
floods. Where
Yeah.
do you put up a maternal labor room, which is
Exactly.
the last place a woman can walk in if
Yeah.
its whole area is flooded?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you? So
But the solar, I mean, how is the conversion
solar, we would double it. Like we would
Conversion,
double the solar
right.
panels that is
with
required.
that climate?
Yeah, for that
Okay.
climate. So if you look at in this office,
Hmm.
that's why we are unfortunately known for solar. We're only 2 people from energy.
Oh.
We have 8 architects.
Huh.
We have 8 or 10 from the health side. We have
Okay.
dentists. We have agriculturists. We have systems thinkers who thinks only in terms of. We have anthropologists who think very differently from that perspective. And so all of them get together. We have finance people who take out how should it be financed, and then come. It's a cross-cutting sector.
But now the model must be pretty much set, right? I mean, it's a fixed model that you.
It's a no, because
No.
the ability of the youngsters to think the social dynamics in Mizoram versus Meghalaya, the livelihood application, the cultural mechanisms of actually selling it, what type of
That's
financing have been
different, yeah.
actually used to for generations. So it's
But the safe labor ward setup model.
that labor.
that
See,
is-
health is a very what you
health,
call it
yeah,
as
it's
utopia.
globalized,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. Because human body is very
So-
standardized.
it has its own idiosyncrasies,
Right.
but right. And I mean, you've worked on both global platforms like the UN and with village councils in Karnataka and the Northeast. How do you create alignment across such dramatically different people? That obviously has its own skill base that you must adopt, I'm sure.
See, I think the first number of years helped me. I mean, I wouldn't say help me. At least 1% of what I've learned is in the initial years of working with farmers, etc., in the ground, right? The other side, if you look at the UN and the World Bank, everything else, that's an easier platform. It's a very cookie cutter thinking.
Yeah,
It's like it's a very
there's no jugaad.
no the complexity is here.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it's unfortunately, I would say just because I come from a certain background, I'm able to fit in there. Unfortunately, say because okay, IT boss, you get, which is unfortunate, I would say, in many ways. But this is what I tell youngsters, boss. If you really want to succeed, if you are not able to get, I mean, you'll never be at that level, even 2%. Ever in the rural areas, ever. Don't even think that you're going to reach. No, but can you do that 2%? That empathy and not sympathy, empathy. And are you able to say that the poor person actually, because what happens is we confuse intellectual poverty to financial poverty. People who are financially poor, we think they're not intellectually good. That's the biggest mistake people do.
Right. They're probably the most cognizant of survival skills.
Absolutely. And how do we learn that?
Plan A, Plan
Right.
B. Right. So if you had to distill 3 mental models for resilience that keep you grounded and keep people whom you know grounded, what would they be? For resilience, to just push on and get things done.
So I mean, same thing. So I mean, simple example: when some kid comes to the office and says, "I'm overworked," right? I'm overworked. Because I'll give a piece of paper. Okay, go to these 20 street vendors, and if one of them says, "I'm overworked," I'll give you 1 month off.
Really? And that was that.
Go and take the exercise. Tell me one street vendor who will say, "I'm overworked."
Will they not
They
say
have the
so?
luxury. They'll never say, because what do you mean overwork, boss? I have to feed my 3 kids, right? And or saying that how many of them have taken a Sunday off, or saying that, oh, boss, I need to take a break, right? So we work on we work 2 Saturdays of the month, and with all of halla, I say, boss, the day the poor stop working on Sundays, we will have our Saturdays off, right? The question is, the problem, that's why that the humility and humbleness would come, boss, your problems are nothing compared to what people 89 to 90% of the people are facing. Okay. Then you actually start being okay. And then am I listening? Right. Especially when you're talking to a pani puri vendor or a sugarcane farmer, right? Boss, are you listening, and are you able to? One is, are you listening? And are you able to understand? There are 2 different things. It might be Kannada, you know Kannada, but you're not understanding what he or she is saying, because a lot of the things he's saying is actually not by words, but between the 2 statements. Right? Have you gone to that level? Once you reach that, then you feel that, boss.
That's so touching, actually. Empathy, and even for doctors, for that matter.
Right,
Unfortunately, empathy is a skill that cannot be taught, and
Exactly,
it is something that we have to develop, and it comes easily for some, but for some people,
Right.
it's never there.
And patience here, no, just like there are a
Yeah.
lot of people who will come back to, I have read here, I've read there, my other cool friend said this, right? How do you keep your emotions, your anger? Here it's like 9 out of 10 times you are hearing a no. Okay. A poor person is hearing 10 out of 10 times. Right? Are we able to change the platform? Our only thing is that street vendor's kid in 10 years has the same level playing field that you and me have.
Yeah.
That's all. Then it's your efforts. Right?
True. Absolutely.
It's like
Very
the
well
same thing, like
said.
when a street vendor, like when, see, we all want our maid servant's kid to be our kid's maid servant. We never want them to develop, right? Because we are cross-subsidized by the poor. Because the maid servant doesn't charge you, that much is your extra savings in the bank account. All right. My question is, that's such an unfortunate, and why do we call, that's my driver? Why? That's a slave mentality, right? That's my colleague. And he should sit in the same place. I mean, if I'm going to a convocation, he should be sitting at the same table I'm eating.
Noble.
Has to. And so our rule policies, everybody stays. Suppose I'm traveling. So my colleague Chandru drives me around. Will stay at the same hotel I stay. That is not negotiable in the organization at all.
I totally am understanding you. I know where your values are. What are the other non-negotiable principles you really want compromise on, even under pressure, with your colleagues, with people who work with you? Any? I mean, I know people come voluntarily to your organization, probably, and of course, maybe some recruitment happens as well.
No, we recruit. I mean,
You recruit,
250
right?
people on roll. So we have an interview process which doesn't rely on resumes. And I don't know I mean, it's embarrassing if I tell you some of my colleagues don't want them to be mentioned. You'll actually don't know who here is an MIT grad. You will not know who is a London School of Economics grad.
You don't look at their CVs at all.
No, there are some people who passed by you. There are some from MIT, some from LSE.
My God.
Right? You will not know who it is. And they will not tell you.
So what's the recruitment process like then? Let me...
The visiting cards will not, and our visiting cards actually don't tell also the position that they hold in the organization, right? So you representing the organization, they report. Inside we have reporting, we have structures and everything else because of the governance issues and everything, and people have to do. But we say there's no friends inside the organization because you're for the concept and you're representing the poor inside. And there are no enemies outside, in a sense that you fight out. Because you have to represent the poor here. You might not agree to me. If you don't, if the meetings are not about fighting, in a sense, am I fighting for the poor? No personal, in terms of fighting for the poor. So recruitment process is, it's like, first question is, do you have the patience level to, are you coming in from passion or romantic? Romanticism will die with.
Yeah, that's true.
If you don't have any...
So how do you discern that?
One of the toughest. We have
It must be
failed.
so difficult.
It's very difficult. So 50 to 60% of the time we have failed. And either people stick to you for 15, 20, 10 years, 20 years, 15 years. Either are the people very comfortable in first thing. Because people say, where's my structure? Where's my reporting? Where is my thing? As boss, I'm an electrical engineer. A tomato vendor will never say, I'm a tomato vendor expert. Boss, tomorrow if tomato prices high, she sells her. As I say, as we get more educated, we get less useful for society,
Yes,
right?
yes. I think it comes with the narrow time.
Narrow time. So, so it's a lottery, but lot of the referrals is what we have succeeded. People know what the philosophy is, what fun.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, just saying, I know that many of these colleagues can earn 5 times outside. They earn. And they have, many of them have created a name for
they're
themselves.
finding meaning, they're finding their
They've
passion.
created their own name. Lot of them have created their own name.
And they don't do any other projects, is it? They're completely dedicated to Celco.
They're full-time Celco.
Good. For example, architects, they don't.
It's 100% Celco.
Celco. Okay, amazing. A very nice work ethic and the culture, I see. And you often emphasize energy for livelihoods, not just energy for light. How does this lens change the way we think about poverty alleviation and sustainability? What about poverty alleviation? I mean, we were in conversation with Mr. Santrup Mishra from Odisha and Subrata Bagchi from Odisha, who are doing a lot for the government and for the poor. And in terms of how do you marry the two? Poverty alleviation and sustainability. Is there any hope for all the villages in India?
Oh, absolutely. The beauty is that India is a microcosm of world's problems and also microcosm of world's solutions. So India is a knowledge hub, can be one of the most powerful knowledge hubs of sustainability and income. Typical example being, if you go to North Karnataka, people do this jawar rotis, 200 of them, and sell it in the market. 250 jawar rotis.
Jawar rotis.
Right, and they sell it in the markets. So we work with a roti rolling manufacturer who makes this.
They're the crispy ones.
No, they make all the dry ones. So he made a machine how instead of taking 2 minutes 25 seconds to make a roti, this will actually flatten it in less than 30 seconds, and the whole roti making takes. So instead of 200 rotis a day through a roti rolling machine, you can do 500 rotis. You pleasure and so we actually worked with him with the efficiency of it and made it solar powered. Suddenly people started making 200 to 500, 550, 600 rotis, right? And they had markets to it, right? There are women who have actually transformed from taking 1 roti, 2 roti, 3, have actually now got solar powered roti roller. They do 10,000 rotis on a daily basis. Who were earning 1,500 rupees a month now earn 1.2 lakhs, right? So same thing in the Northeast, silk weaving. Instead of doing 2 saris a day, now they do 4 saris because it's a solar powered weaving machine, right?
To a certain extent, it's automated.
Automated, like pottery making. Instead of 8 potteries, you can do 14 potteries, right? So solar, in terms of you can democratize it. Rice mills. It lessens drudgery. It millet graders. Millet graders, millet mixers, roti rolling mixers, for example, pug making, that is to mix the mud for pottery making. Everything can be solar powered in many ways. So that's what we work on those to increase livelihood.
It'll be really interesting to watch those videos if
absolutely.
If there access to it.
Oh,
that is
yes.
okay, amazing. And now coming to your vision for the next decade of decentralized renewable energy for India and globally. How do you see now? I mean, there's a lot of talk about solar, there's wind power, there's nuclear energy, and whatever. How do you see the future sort of opening out to renewable energy, and what is?
We don't come from the supply side. Supply side means supply of electrons. If you look at solar, nuclear, etc., etc., we come from the demand side. We're saying that now it's not about, for example, questioning like India wants X number of PHCs to be built in the next 10 years. My question is, the problem statement is not X number of PHCs, is 200 million people getting reliable and sustainable health services. Will PHCs in 5 years become post offices? Right? In 1990, we said we need 200,000 post offices by 2000. Where are the post offices? Right? Email, cut it off. Will AI will, like your Apple Watches, will your kind cut down the need for such a space at all for services. I just need a decent space for maternal labor rooms and an operation theater. Any other peripheral services, I can democratize it in many
With
ways, right?
wearables.
How will health services change, for example, right? In the islands of Majoli in Assam, we have boats with foldable dental chairs. Why should the people come to Jorhat? Why can't the service go to them?
Okay.
Right? How do we rethink?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I don't need 150 features on a dental chair which guzzles more electricity. I need 5 features. How do we rethink? That's the beauty of what I see that's happening of AI, decentralized energy, and appliances in health education. Health education. How do I digitize it? How do I make it? Even in the remotest part of this country, I can give the highest qualification. So I mean, the question I raised to everybody here: why should I wait till 2035 to give Mass General or Cloud9 type of maternal labor room? Why can't I do it next year in Mizoram? Right? 200 square foot space, you think a poor man's house, but in Tokyo, it's a rich man's house. Can't I cheat the design? Right? So I believe that by 2035, which is 10 years before 2047, 100 years, not only we would have come out with newer as a country, but we become the center of knowledge for Africa, Indonesia, Latin America. Let China be whatever the manufacturer of the world. We become the knowledge of the world in terms of sustainability. What you do in Manipur is good for Tanzania. What you do in Meghalaya is good for Sierra Leone. Like Sierra Leone has the highest maternal deaths in the world. Only 6 million people, equivalent to Meghalaya and Manipur. The Sierra Leone minister came to Meghalaya, saw what we did, said, can you do a policy for Sierra Leone?
Okay.
Right? It's 2% electrified, but it can leapfrog. We have some baggages, right? It can leave. And that's what I think India is in that position. And that's why the youngsters, boss, where are you looking at Europe and US? It's a beautiful chance for you to be that future. Yeah.
We're at a very, very interesting, promising sort of stage, isn't it? Yes. Well, hats off to you. Hats off to you. Finally, what advice would you offer young change makers who want to tackle seemingly impossible problems? What is it that you would like them to know from your own journey?
I said to them, I would say it's first is imbibe. See, what happens is people come up with a solution and try to fit a problem to it without understanding what the problem is. Forget the solutions. Are you able to feel the problem? And next 6-8 months, forget Twitter, this, that, I have got this award, I've got that award, there's recognized.
Keep your ego aside.
Go and, I mean, I say if you're in sustainability, boss, I want you to go and live in the problem area for a year. You spend 4 years for something else, 1 year you can't spend it for the next 35 years. That's your investment. 1 year, right? If you're in the space of water, go to the worst part of Rajasthan and stay there for a year. Unless until you don't, or if you want in transportation, take the unreserved train from Calcutta to Delhi in unreserved and multiple times. And what it means, then you will say, okay, if I was this solution maker, I would have changed the unreserved here. I would have made the water. How do I look at water efficiency? This is the time when you're 20, when you're not married, you don't have much responsibility. Plunge directly into what the problem statement is rather than jumping into, I'm writing a proposal. Money is the last thing. The people say that I don't have money. I said, that's the best time to innovate, boss.
Yeah.
You don't have money, you become most innovative.
Yeah. Because, I think necessity is the mother of innovation and invention. Okay, amazing. I mean, is there anything that you'd like to say as last words?
No, I said that this country is like,
for this podcast.
No, but if this is a country that can actually showcase to Mali, Madagascar, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Brazil, Peru. On this side, you have Philippines. The floods in Philippines can learn what we do mostly with sustainability in Assam floods. The droughts of Ethiopia can learn from Madhya Pradesh droughts and how are we coming on villages. So I think the youngsters, rather than getting nervous about the US and the tariffs and etc., and also nervous about is AI going to lose jobs. But see, the word we use AI is that we hear is where is your apna intelligence, right? AI. So the question is, make that build that in the 6 years between 18 and 20, 18 and 22, 23.
Mm.
Otherwise you, and don't listen to your parents, which I say to a lot of people.
Oh, that's a strong one. Wow, what an inspiring
No, thank you,
conversation it's
ma'am.
been, Dr. Harish Hande. And I'm sure you all agree that this episode has been filled not just with stories of resilience, courage, and persistence, but also of practical wisdom, getting down to the grassroots, understanding the problems, working from the bottom upwards, getting the problem and then finding a solution, and finance, policy, finding champions, and of course humility in leadership. And he's humility personified. I'm sure you all gathered some takeaways that stood out for me. That is, affordability isn't about lowering cost, but it's about creating appropriate financing and access. And real change often comes from trusting local wisdom. And we must not underestimate the local wisdom, because they have plans A's and B's and C's. And perhaps most importantly, resilience comes not from avoiding the failure, but from embracing it as part of the process. Dr. Hande truly exemplifies all these means to live a life with passion, purpose. And my hope is that you, our listeners, carry this sort of mental models with you, and as you tackle challenges in your own lives. Thank you very much, Dr.
No,
Harish
thank you
Hande, for your
for
time.
no, thank
We
you
know
for
how busy you are,
no,
and thank you
I'm
for
very
sparing
thank
this
you.
precious 1.5 hours with us.
No, thank you.
Thank
ma'am,
you
for-
very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, viewers. If you have enjoyed this podcast as much as I have, please do subscribe to our uh, channel on YouTube, Luminary Lounge, Insights from Lives Well Lived. It's also available on Spotify, and really honored to have your support and encouragement for all the 21 episodes that we did in our first year. And our first year digest is ready with all the beautiful insights that we have collected through these beautiful guests of ours over the year. Thank you very much.